In the earlier response to the Leader of the Opposition's question in August, I think the HDB has explained that it needs to manage supply and demand. I think that was the gist of it, and it wanted to also disincentivize applicants who behave irresponsibly by not taking up the bookings that they were offered. I'd like to ask whether HDB has actually considered the effect of this policy on the applicants themselves. And if I may explain, the scenario we're talking about is where the applicant has applied in a BTO exercise, received a queue number that is beyond the supply of the first project. Then they are permitted to apply for a second project because they were exceeding the supply of the first. And they were fortunate in the second application to receive a queue number within the supply given. And this expectation of them being able to select a flat in the second project is left undisturbed for months until HDB comes back to them to inform them that the first project actually is undersubscribed and now they have to stick to the first project. Otherwise, they would risk being counted as a non-selection and so on. So I'd like to ask SMS whether he actually recognizes that this has resulted in frustration and great disappointment in these applicants because a legitimate expectation was given based on this second letter of offer, and only months later to be sort of pulled from under the applicant's feet because the first project has turned out to be undersubscribed. So does he recognize that there's frustration and disappointment? Secondly, I understood from the earlier response to the LO that actually the number of applicants in this situation is very small. It's only 2% of the total applicants. 116 people since October, that was what was mentioned. So I'm just wondering whether, since the number is small, could HDB give some special consideration to these people and perhaps let them choose which project they want, maybe on the same day, to recognize the fact that it is not their fault and they have been given these two letters of offer by HDB?
So I thank Ms. Lim for the two supplementary questions, which are in a way related. Maybe first allow me to set the context of the reply to Mr. Pritam Singh's parliamentary question earlier. The context of why we impose some of these requirements is that in the past years, about 40% of our build-to-order applicants, about 40% of them who were invited to book a flat did not do so. And there are many reasons why applicants who were invited to book a flat did not choose to do so. But the effect of it will be that it will crowd out those who are still waiting in the queue to get a flat. And because of this, we decided to impose certain requirements so that they can allow those who are really genuine needs to able to get their flats quickly. And as part of that, we have tightened the rules for non-selection of flats. Since October last year, applicants in BTO and sales of balance flat exercises who received a queue number within 100% of the flat supply at an earlier exercise are not eligible to apply for a flat in subsequent sales exercises. So that's to be fair to those who are not yet able to get a chance to book their flats. But for those who but HDB gives queue numbers up to 300% of the flat supply. So be a flat supply, the queue number, we give it in access to 300% of flat supply, so that gives people a chance to able to choose a flat even though the queue number may be slightly more than the 100% of the flat supply. And those applicants who receive a larger queue number and have a lower chances of securing a flat may be anxious to apply in another sales exercise as soon as possible. And that's very understandable. So you get a flat number, that a queue number that's in excess of 100% of flat supply, you're anxious to get in a flat. So we allow those applicants who receive a queue number outside 100% of the flat supply to proceed to apply in a second sales exercise, even before their first flat booking appointment. So what Ms. Lim described earlier were applicants who got a queue number in excess of 100% of the flat supply in the first exercise. We allowed them to book for the second flat exercise and their queue number within the flat supply allocation. And that's why they're in a situation where they could be invited to apply for a first flat, but they will want to get a second flat as well. because they may be getting a queue number that's very favorable to them within 100% of the second exercise. So these are the group of people, and of that, as Ms. Lim pointed out, it's about 116 applicants, about 2% of the total applicants. And that's the first point of clarification to set in context why we have this group of people. The second clarification I'll make is that Ms. Lim talked about expectations, that they can choose both flats. Actually, when they apply for the flats in the first exercise, we do set the expectations with them as part of the application that if they were invited to choose a flat within the first exercise, they would have to give up the queue number in the second exercise. Those expectations were set up front. But we understand that some of the applicants in the first flat exercises may have very limited choices to choose from. Right, for example, limited number of flats, very small number of remaining flats available. We do not count them against if they don't choose it. So it's not a non-selection count. So they don't choose a flat if they meet certain criteria in the first flat exercise and continue to choose the second flat exercise. So that in the second flat exercise. So that is the scenario in which I think we set expectations up front, and we have give some flexibility to those applicants who may not have many flat options to choose from in the first place. And on the third related point that to Ms. Lim's questions, whether is it understand the frustration, and I empathize and acknowledge, and I come across like Ms. Lim, many residents who come to see me who say that, is it fair? I have got a chance to choose a second flat, and I prefer that location, but can I give up my first one and choose the second one? And I always try to explain to residents that we want to be fair to all applicants. Firstly, by allowing those applicants to put in a second application even while their first application is still in process, is already providing flexibility. And if you allow them to choose between first one or second one, it might be unfair to those who may be waiting in a queue and maybe crowding out others who may be waiting for flats. And that is really the rationale. But if Ms. Lim comes across residents, or we come across members in the chambers come across residents who really feel that on a case-by-case compassionate ground there's certain strong rationale for that, please let us know. We'll take a look at them. But really, it's really on the basis of fairness and consistency of application of rules across all applicants, whether they have a first exercise and they can need to choose second one, or those who are still waiting in a queue for their flats.
Ms. Lim.
Thank you, Speaker. As I mentioned earlier, I do acknowledge the rationale for HDB's policy, but since the SMS has asked, we have come across constituents, our appeals have failed, and so we have to bring it up in Parliament to try to understand the issue further. And I would like to ask the SMS whether, in view of the fact that the numbers are very small, and the fact that these are not the irresponsible applicants that HDB is concerned about. In fact, these are people who legitimately received 2 letters of offer, and the second one that resurrected the first project came months after the second offer. So I would like to ask HDB to please be open-minded about this issue, because there is a legitimate expectation set there, and it would be good if HDB can cater to that.
SMS done.
Sir, I thank the member for the further clarification, and maybe just a couple of data points to set in context her question. First, in terms of timeline, applicants will receive their ballot results in about 2 months after the flat application period closes, and the booking exercise commences from about 4 weeks after release of the ballot results. So actually, it's quite fast. And the exercise will take several months to complete, because it really depends on the flat supply and the take-up rate of other applicants. Applicants will be invited to book a flat based on their balloted queue number, and will receive a HDB's invitation about 2 weeks before their booking appointment. So from HDB point of view, we do want to facilitate the applicant in booking the flat as soon as possible. And on the second data point that may be of interest to Ms. Lim will be that of the 160 applicants who have been invited to book a flat in 2 sales exercises, 14 applicants appealed to HDB for non-selection count waiver so that they can proceed to select a flat at their second flat booking appointment. HDB took a look at the cases, and we tried to understand where they are coming from, and we tried to provide flexibility. And HDB acceded to 5 of these appeals. so as they were at the tail end of their selection process and had limited flats to choose from. And as I've explained earlier in my reply, we exempt such applicants from incurring a non-selection count. The remaining 9 applicants who appealed were rejected. Of these, 8 of them proceeded to book a flat at the first flat booking appointment, and only 1 eventually incurred a non-selection count.